Hey everybody, it's Mick Levinskas here from Climate Salad, and I'm here speaking to Annie and Ursula about the upcoming Women in Climate Award. They have both stepped up to support this incredibly important award, and just want to jump on and talk about how do we actually do more to support the amazing women in climate tech. Annie, can you give us a quick introduction and tell us why you think it's important to support this kind of award?
Sure. So I'm Annie Parker. Full disclosure, I'm also an investor in Climate Salad because I love it so much and it's so important that we do invest in climate technology. But to Mick's point, it's so much more important for us to have the conversation about where money isn't going or where support isn't going to enough. And that's absolutely 1 million% women founders and also founders from other underrepresented backgrounds. But it's a different conversation. I've been in the tech industry for about 15 years now. And it still literally pisses me off that still we're looking at globally, the average is 2% of a larger amount of funding that's out there. Only 2% is going into female founders. And that has been the same since I started 15 years ago. It's bullshit and it needs to change.
Yeah, that's no good. Thanks, Annie, for kicking us off. Ursula, quick intro and why you think this award's important to support.
Hi, Mick, and hi, Annie. I'm really glad to support the Women in Climate Tech Award, um, primarily because I know the more we encourage the current women in climate tech, not only will they be more likely to succeed, but they'll be encouraging so many other potential founders. And why is this important? The climate problems that we face need more diversity, more information, more people involved, and a hugely underrepresented group in founding is women. So one main reason I'm supporting this is because I want to encourage more female founders. And it's also really important to ask, are there women in climate tech? Yes, Climate Salad did a fantastic survey of over 200 companies and found nearly half have a female founder, and then about 13% were solely women founded. So yes, there are women in climate tech. And the next question, this is particularly for investors, why fund them? There's research that shows you're going to get a more efficient use of capital. So climate tech is really funding intensive. So capital efficiency, including with your research and development, is really important. Second, it's proven that you'll make more money. So female-led companies, US studies have got them generating about 35% higher return on equity and 10 to 15% more revenue compared to less diverse companies. And third, there's also research that these are stronger and more resilient companies when they have more diverse leadership. So I want to encourage more female founders. I want to see investors do really well. And I want to see all these companies' solutions come to fruition because we and the climate need them.
Yeah, I think that's some really, really good points. I think that's there's no doubt that we absolutely need them. There's no doubt that they are at that right level, and there's also no doubt that we aren't funding them nearly enough. And I think that the negative of the lag around investment of who has the money, how do they get it, what do they think, how do they process all the systems, like that investment is a lagging indicator. But what we also know is that the ecosystems around which we can put support around female founders and underfunded groups can be really, really accelerated. Yeah, Annie, you've done a lot of work to actually really build those ecosystems out and create those stronger bonds. Is it about is it actually about numbers? Is it getting like lots and lots and lots of people around this, or is it about a small group of that's stronger? Like any sense of how we actually continue to help grow this sector?
It's a great question. And I think both is fine. Both would be great, actually. But if I look at the statistics and I look at what's worked when I've sort of been developing those ecosystems. So I used to work for Microsoft. We had similar statistics of the number of startups that were on the Microsoft for Startups program that were female led or had a female founder was single digits, and I cared about that deeply enough to lobby for change. So I got given some money and some funding to run a trial program of supporting early stage female founders and giving them advice and connections and help and support. And the 2 or 3 things we learned from that, first off, was number one, women felt like they needed to be almost 100% qualified to be able to say that they were a founder, or that they were going to run this business, or that they felt that they were confident enough to start. And you obviously sort of this, it's a little bit stereotypical, but the average white guy would kind of go, I've got half of what's needed, let's just give it a red hot go. So there's a little bit of the whole, I need to be perfect before I feel confident to step in. The second is something that Ursula touched on in her little speech just then, around not seeing other people that look like them. And if the whole room is full of guys, women tend not to feel welcome. It's almost like, I'm not even going to set foot in that room because I don't see anybody else that looks like me. So I'm probably not welcome. And then the last piece is, when we did run these programs and when we did give confidence to these women and they realized actually that they were welcome, that they were qualified, that they actually were just like everybody else in the room, that they were making it up as they go along, that there was a load of just, I didn't realize it was actually a bit easier than I thought. I'm now going to bring my 50 other girlfriends or connections who are women behind me. So what we found was the network effect of women helping other women. Once they got over that first barrier or first couple of barriers of confidence and not feeling like they'd got enough qualifications to do the thing, they realized, oh crap, not only can I do the thing, I'm now going to bring thousands of other people with me, not just 1 or 2. So we found that the multiplier effect of activating a small group of women really was huge in terms of activating a much larger audience.
Yeah, that's really, really important. And I know, Ursula, you've helped a lot of climate tech companies go through capital raises. The process itself, and I think Annie's exactly right. Like, I think there's a really good long-term benefit of that. Women founders are much more reliable in their numbers. They don't over pitch. They're much more humble in terms of the challenge ahead and the work they've done and the momentum. So they don't overpromise. But sometimes, again, we know that there's in that process there is some there are games played. Can you talk about anything that kind of helps that process, that we can do to kind of help that process and again get more funding into women-led climate tech companies?
Mick, what I see at the quite early stage of funding is a lot of founders are finding money through networks, their backgrounds, their own personal connections, which is fantastic, but that isn't a level playing field in terms of the merits of the company or the likelihood of success. So I'm really in favor of programs that not just incubators and accelerators that support women, but also that fund women. What I've seen is if they can get that initial level of funding to get things off the ground, then they've got success to show for the next level of funding. So what I'm really grateful for, and I'd like to see more of, is actual funding going to women founders for that first round to get them off the ground.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And one thing I will say as well, I know there's a big continuum of investors out there. I think it's really, really important for investors to know that saying they make decisions based on merit doesn't actually help. But by the time merit is evaluated at an investment committee, there is 1,000 moments of disadvantage for women and other underrepresented founders. Like, it is not. I think they think that everything to how they pitch, how they think of themselves, and how they put their numbers, but how they are able to build those earlier those networks. So I think it is not nearly good enough at all, and will not get enough change if we say we have to make it on merit. And we get that investors need to make a return, but I think we have to change the process and the systems in order to then change what actually happens. I think it's just way too late at that stage.
And I think, Mick, a great question there is who's in your funnel that you're then saying you're deciding on merit, and is your funnel bringing in a much more diverse group of founders? And if not, what can you do to bring them in? Because they're out there, but you need to make active efforts to be being more than the stereotypic.
And I think to Annie, like your comment around the actual role models, right? We have Juliet from Fladmap, we have Olympia from GoTerra, we have Finn from Kelpie, Raj from Capture, we have there's so many amazing. We have Julia from Ulu and Julia from Great Wrap. I think we have an amazing batch of incredible women in scaling climate tech companies, and when they get to that next level of success, it's been great to have Melanie Perkins lead Canvas so well, and I think if we can help that next batch, I think we've got to help all the ways along the funnel in terms of capital as well. But totally agree that those role models are key.
Mick, I was about to say the same thing. We're definitely seeing more diversity in the founders. And when I say see, it actually matters, like who's up on stage, who's in the media. But also it benefits everyone to see more diversity amongst the actual funders, amongst the venture capital teams, private equity.
Yeah, agree. That one takes a bit longer to change, I think, because I think some of them are already well established. I think of Blackbird, Squarepeg, Airtree, Main Sequence. I think they were all male founders, founding general partners. So I think it's changing, but I agree that is where I think it needs to much more aggressively change, and needs that investment. And again, I don't think it can be done in the margins. I think it's got to be done much more aggressively. I think particularly around climate technology and things that require more complexity than I know it's very hard to run a SaaS and e-commerce company, but there's a bit more diversity there as well. Any final messages, any for women in climate tech pursuing and going through this hard work?
It is a hard slog. I'll use a phrase that my dad always used to say to me: "It's hard, but if it wasn't hard, everybody would be doing it." So, it is hard. You're absolutely right. But it can be done. You can do it. Please keep going and ask for help. If you are struggling a little bit, reach out to your own networks. Drop me a message on LinkedIn. Anyone, just ask for help, because you'll be surprised at who will give it to you if you ask. You are not alone. And the last piece is help others. And I know I talked about this in one of my other comments, but if you're 6 months ahead of somebody else, just imagine what it was like 6 months ago, and that you would have really appreciated somebody dropping you a message going, "Hey, is there anything I can do to help?" Because if we all open that process up a little bit, and that's one of the other things, by the way, that I find fascinating about this industry, we use language, we use processes, we use systems that are deeply and inherently hard to get into if you're not from the industry. So let's kind of open it back up a bit. Let's make it so that it isn't this weird black box that if you're not from the industry or if you've not worked in the tech industry before, it can be really blooming scary. So if you are a female founder and you're a little bit further along, take a look behind you, see who you can help, pay it forward.
It's a great point. I think it's another trait, I think, of female founders is that they will sometimes say that they maybe have the imposter syndrome, or they're not worthy, and they may undervalue all the things they've learned and their ability to teach and guide. And I agree. I think that's a real multiplier effect. If they could even 6 months is a long time in startup. So, Ursula, any final comments of wisdom?
Yeah, look, I'd strongly echo Annie's point about asking for assistance. The quality of information you can get in a 30-minute conversation with one person, 30-minute conversation with another, just feel brave about contacting people, specifically asking for, say, that 30 minutes. It's absolutely invaluable, the kind of extra information you can achieve from people who've done it before and can pass on their wisdom. And I love Annie's point about, even if you think you've got a whole road ahead, you can still help people that are slightly further back than you. And the other message I'd have is for all of the investors. This is you're in the business of making considerably accelerating your returns based on making good bets. And this is a place to be looking for really good bets and significantly accelerating your returns. And one way that you're going to do that and get more diverse founders in your funnel is making it more public about the fact that you're supporting female founders and putting females in your team, women in your team, front and center, so people can see that you're walking the talk. It really does make a difference.
Some great comments, and again, massive thank you to you, Ursula and Annie, for supporting the Women in Climate Tech Award at the 2024 Climate Tech Connection Awards on 27th of November. Really, really appreciate it. You've both been inspirations and guiders and nurturers of me and my career, so thank you both. Really, really appreciate it. It's going to be a big year ahead. There's a lot to do. We've got some incredible female founders doing some amazing work in climate tech, and we're looking forward to a huge 2025. So thank you both, and we'll see everyone at the awards.
See you, folks.
Thank you. See you.